What if you woke up tomorrow morning and discovered that nothing, absolutely nothing, outside of you could shake your inner calm? Imagine this. No thoughtless comment could sting you. No icy glance could pierce your heart. Not even the painful silence from someone you once loved could disturb your peace. Picture a life where your sense of calm isn't fragile like a candle trembling in the wind, but strong and steady like a quiet fire glowing deep within, resilient, unwavering, untouchable. Most people move through life as if they're walking around with open wounds, feeling every small breeze as a violent storm and every whispered word as a deafening roar. But what if sensitivity didn't have to mean suffering? What if you could keep your heart tender, your spirit vibrant, without letting the chaos of the world hijack your mind? This isn't about turning numb or shutting yourself off from the world. It's about becoming wise, about mastering the rare art of feeling deeply without falling apart at every challenge. It's about learning to stand in the middle of all the noise and remain still inside. And that journey begins when you realize that peace isn't something you simply find. It's something you consciously build, brick by brick. One thought, one breath, one tiny decision at a time. Today, we're going to walk side by side through the hidden corridors of inner calm. We'll uncover why true peace isn't a random blessing but a hard-earned discipline. Why not every fleeting feeling deserves your precious energy, and how mastering your reactions can completely transform the way you experience life itself. So, take a deep breath. Are you ready? Let's step into this together. Real peace, the kind that stays with you even in the eye of a storm, isn't handed to you on a silver platter. It's not the product of perfect mornings, a life without stress, or a world free of conflict. That peace is something you earn, something you cultivate day after day, often in silence and through discomfort. You don't just magically wake up one day with a serene mind. You become calm because you choose, again and again, not to feed the chaos around you. You strengthen your inner calm every time you refuse to match an insult with another insult. Every time you sense your anger rising and choose to breathe instead of explode. Every time you want to fight back, but instead allow silence to speak on your behalf. This isn't weakness. This is self-mastery in its most powerful form. Peace isn't passive. It isn't about sitting quietly on a beach far away from noise. It's about sitting with your own thoughts when your mind screams the loudest and not believing every story it spins. It's about knowing how to return to your center even when life tries to drag you in every direction at once. And here's the truth. That kind of peace doesn't just show up after reading a book or repeating a quote. It doesn't come from a single brave choice. It's etched deep into your nervous system through daily practice, through constant presence, and by choosing, again and again, what you focus on. There will be days when emotions flood your mind, when people say things that cut deep, when nothing seems to go your way, and old wounds start aching again. These moments are your true training ground. That's when you practice controlling your attention, adjusting your posture, and guiding your breath. You don't react, you observe. You don't deny the feelings, but you don't let them drive either. In that quiet pause, you reclaim your power. It's not about becoming unfeeling. It's about becoming unshakable. There's a world of difference. So, if you've been waiting for peace to just arrive, it's time to stop waiting. Build it, choose it, sharpen it like a blade. Cultivate it like a delicate garden. Because here's the unfiltered truth. Your peace will only ever be as strong as your discipline. And the more you practice, the more unbothered you become, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally learned what truly deserves your care. You are not obligated to feel everything so deeply. It's tempting to believe that feeling everything to the core makes you more human. That if you aren't constantly overwhelmed by emotion, you're somehow missing out. But that's a beautiful lie the world loves to sell to sensitive souls. A lie that turns your heart into a dumping ground for every careless word, every misunderstanding, every fleeting shadow. The truth. You are not required to surrender your peace to every passing discomfort. You're not obligated to transform every small hurt into a deep emotional scar. Feeling is natural, but drowning in every tiny ripple of life? That isn't strength. It's self-abandonment. When you feel everything too intensely, without filtering or reflecting, your mind becomes a battlefield. Every unanswered text feels like rejection. Every disagreement feels like betrayal. Every quiet distance feels like abandonment. And when every unanswered message feels like a rejection, every disagreement feels like betrayal, and every moment of distance feels like a deep abandonment, it's no wonder our hearts feel so heavy. But here's something we often forget. Life isn't always speaking in catastrophes. Most of the time, life is beautifully neutral. It's our unchecked sensitivity, that magnifying lens we hold up to everything, that transforms small, neutral events into personal tragedies that haunt us far more than they should. You have not just the right, but the duty to step back and see things with clear eyes, to ask yourself, is this truly about me? Or is this just a projection of my fears, my old wounds, my unhealed places? You are not a character in every story playing out around you. You are not responsible for reading hidden messages in every silence or decoding every tiny shift in someone's facial expression. Sometimes people are simply distracted. Sometimes they're wrestling with storms you can't see, battles you may never know about. Their behavior is almost never a mirror of your worth. Instead, it's a reflection of their own personal journey, their struggles, their pain, their confusion. When you begin to filter reality through clarity rather than raw emotion, you don't become cold or detached. You become conscious, alive, and deeply aware. You stop bleeding for battles that were never yours to fight. You stop draining your spirit trying to unravel the mysterious intentions of people who barely understand themselves. You step out of that exhausting theater of assumptions and step into the serene sanctuary of peace instead. Think about it. How many moments in your life have you wasted interpreting, reinterpreting, and replaying events that, in the grand scheme of your existence, meant almost nothing? How many sleepless nights? How many forced smiles? How many unnecessary apologies or spirals of self-blame came from giving too much meaning to things that were never truly about you in the first place? There's a profound freedom waiting for you when you realize that not everything deserves your emotional investment, your empathy, Your attention, your heart, these are precious, sacred resources. They deserve to be given intentionally, not scattered like leaves in the wind over every small disturbance. You are allowed to say, "This isn't mine to carry. This moment doesn't define me. This silence, this small rejection, this fleeting discomfort, it doesn't deserve a throne in my mind." You can observe waves of emotion without drowning in them. You can feel the sting of a moment without letting it anchor itself in your soul. You can watch life unfold without losing yourself in every shifting breeze. And, ironically, when you stop overfeeling, you actually begin to feel more purely, more authentically. You feel with greater depth, not greater chaos. You experience emotions as they truly are, not magnified, not twisted, but raw, immediate, and real. You give yourself space to grieve when grief is true, to celebrate when joy is genuine, to connect when connection is mutual, without the constant background noise of overreaction. Your emotional life becomes richer, not emptier. This discipline, feeling what is true without exaggerating what is temporary, isn't a denial of sensitivity. It's the elevation of it. It means taking the raw material of your empathy and sculpting it into wisdom. It means protecting the sanctuary of your heart so you can meet life with an open spirit, but a steady, grounded one. So, the next time you catch yourself spiraling over an unanswered text, a distracted glance, or a cold moment from someone you care about deeply, pause. Ask yourself, is this truly about me? Step back. Let go. Choose clarity over assumption. Choose peace over emotional exhaustion. Because you are not obligated to turn your heart into an open wound for every passing moment. You are allowed, and in fact, deeply encouraged, to guard the sacred ground of your mind and to save your depth for what truly deserves it. You are not cold when you do this. You are wise, and in that wisdom, you find a tenderness that doesn't destroy you but strengthens you. Sensitivity without strength quickly becomes self-sabotage. There is something almost holy about being able to feel the world so deeply, to sense the subtle shifts in a room's energy, to hear the tremble in someone's voice that others miss, to carry silent empathy for invisible struggles. Sensitivity isn't a flaw, it's a rare and precious gift, but only when it's anchored firmly in strength. Without that strength, sensitivity turns inward like a blade. It doesn't cut through confusion. It cuts through your own spirit. It becomes a cycle of endless overthinking, overfeeling, and ultimately overwhelming yourself into silence, paralysis, and deep pain. You were not born to be crushed by your ability to feel. You were born to use it, to navigate, to connect, to understand the world more deeply. But to do that, you need a foundation of resilience. Without it, you become a prisoner of your own perceptions. Every slight feels like a betrayal. Every misunderstanding feels like a deep wound. And every subtle shift in someone's mood starts to feel like undeniable proof of your own inadequacy. Life becomes endlessly exhausting, not because life itself is inherently cruel, but because you've handed your emotional weather over to forces outside your control. Strength, however, doesn't mean becoming rigid or turning yourself into a stone fortress. It doesn't mean building walls so high and thick that nothing can touch your heart. True strength means learning how to remain open without being shattered. It means understanding the delicate difference between what truly deserves your tenderness and what demands your detachment. It's realizing that you can be both sensitive and sovereign, that you can feel deeply and powerfully without giving away the keys to your inner peace. Picture a beautifully tuned violin. Its strings are incredibly sensitive. They respond to even the gentlest touch. But they aren't weak. They hold tension and strength together in perfect balance, creating music that stirs the soul. Without tension, those strings would make no sound. Without resilience, sensitivity collapses into meaningless noise. Your emotional sensitivity is no different. It needs the strength of clear boundaries, unwavering self-respect, and deliberate focus. Without this foundation, you start absorbing pain that was never yours to carry, taking on responsibilities that don't belong to you, and seeing the world through a lens of raw, unchecked vulnerability rather than calm, balanced awareness. There's another trap that many sensitive souls fall into. When sensitivity runs wild and unchecked, it can quietly transform into self-centeredness. Without even realizing it, every single experience starts revolving around you. How you were hurt, how you were misunderstood, how you were neglected. You begin to live through the narrow lens of your own wounds, interpreting the world as a series of personal attacks. Gradually, your world shrinks, not because the world itself has changed, but because your heart has turned inward, closing itself off from the wider reality. True strength allows you to step outside of this inward spiral. It teaches you to see other people's pain without making it about your own, to witness someone's anger or coldness and understand that it's a mirror of their inner battles, not a verdict on your worth, to accept that life is sometimes messy, that people are beautifully imperfect, and that pain is an inevitable part of the human journey. But none of it has to define who you are, unless you allow it to. Building emotional strength isn't about numbing yourself or denying your feelings. It's about nurturing yourself deeply. It's about knowing when to hold space for your feelings and when to gently guide yourself back to a place of clarity and calm. It's about developing the power to sit with discomfort without letting it rewrite the story of your life. Yes, it takes practice. It takes patience. But this is the path to true emotional freedom. Because when sensitivity is paired with strength, it transforms into wisdom, a living light you carry out into the world, a light that sees clearly, feels deeply, and yet remains unshaken. It becomes a light that listens without losing itself, that loves without losing dignity, that grieves without losing hope. The world doesn't need you to harden into someone you're not. It doesn't need you to close your heart or kill your tenderness. What it truly needs is for you to be strong enough to keep your heart wide open, even when it aches, to keep your spirit glowing, even when others try to dim it. To choose, again and again, to be both sensitive and resilient. Because when you master this delicate balance, you stop being tossed around by the world's storms. You become the calm within them. But mastering that calm always starts from one place: your Inner dialogue. If you really listen closely, you'll notice that the loudest, most persistent voice in your life isn't the noise of the world outside. It's the constant chatter happening inside your own mind. Day after day, thought after thought, there is an endless conversation unfolding within you. And whether you're conscious of it or not, that inner voice is either building your calm or slowly tearing it apart. Trying to conquer external challenges without first mastering this inner voice is like trying to calm a storm by rearranging the clouds. It might change the view temporarily, but the turbulence remains. True, lasting, unshakable calm begins the moment you take full responsibility for how you speak to yourself. Most people let their minds run wild and unchecked. Every fear is indulged, every insecurity is given a grand stage, and every small failure gets magnified into a catastrophic prophecy. An unchecked mind can become a merciless narrator, dramatizing pain, exaggerating threats, replaying regrets, and weaving anxious futures that don't even exist yet. When you leave that voice unchallenged, it can steal your peace long before the outside world has a chance to even touch it. Mastering your inner dialogue doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It doesn't mean forcing fake positivity or chanting affirmations you don't actually believe. It means cultivating an honest, calm, and resilient conversation with yourself. One rooted firmly in reality, not in fear. It's about learning to catch your mind as it starts spiraling into worst-case scenarios, and gently pulling it back before it drags you under. It's about questioning harsh self-judgments instead of blindly accepting them as gospel truth. It means replacing catastrophic, doomsday interpretations with balanced, clear, and grounded perspectives. For example, when you fail at something, the undisciplined mind might scream, "You're worthless. You'll never succeed. This is proof you should give up." But the trained, steady mind replies calmly, "This is just a setback, not a life sentence. What can I learn here? How can I grow from this?" When someone pulls away from you or grows distant, the fearful mind rushes in with, "You're unlovable. You're being abandoned again." But the grounded mind reminds you, everyone is fighting their own battles. Their distance is about them, not a reflection of my value. This inner dialogue isn't about denying reality. It's about directing it, choosing thoughts that strengthen you rather than thoughts that quietly sabotage you. It's about intentionally curating your mental environment with the same care you would give to curating your home, clearing out the clutter, fixing the cracks, letting in the light. And like anything worth mastering, this takes daily practice. It's in those small, everyday moments, when your thoughts start to race and spiral, that you must catch them, question them, and lovingly redirect them. It's in the moments of emotional overwhelm that you have to step back, breathe, and anchor yourself with words that heal instead of harm. No one can do this for you. No relationship, no accomplishment, no external praise can permanently quiet an untrained mind. Only you can rewire that inner voice. Only you can choose to become your own sanctuary of calm, rather than your own source of chaos. Think of your inner dialogue as the fertile soil from which your emotional state will grow. If you plant seeds of fear, self-criticism, and panic, don't be surprised when anxiety, doubt, and restlessness bloom in your life. But if you plant seeds of patience, perspective, and resilience, calmness will naturally grow and blossom. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words aren't just ancient philosophy, they are a map. A timeless reminder that peace is not some passive gift reserved for a chosen few. It is an active practice, an inner discipline, a daily decision to guide your mind instead of being dragged helplessly by it. So, the next time your heart pounds, your mind races, your fear surges, pause, listen carefully. What is your mind saying to you in that moment? Is it the voice of a wise, supportive friend? Or is it an old wound screaming in disguise? Is it a voice of true wisdom? Or just an echo of past pain repeating itself? You can't always control which thoughts appear, but you can always choose which ones you engage with, which ones you believe, and which ones you let drift away like clouds. Master that skill, and you master your calm. You master your life. Not reacting. That is a true power move, not a weakness. In a world that constantly demands instant responses, silence is often mistaken for weakness. Composure is seen as cowardice. Restraint is misread as surrender. But the real truth is, not reacting, not allowing every word, every situation, every provocation to pull you out of your center. That is one of the purest expressions of inner power. Anyone can react. A child can react. A frightened animal can react. Reaction is immediate, automatic, often driven by fear or wounded pride. Choosing not to react, choosing to pause, to observe, to respond only when truly necessary, and with full awareness of yourself. That is rare. That is strength. That is a skill most people never even attempt to develop because they're too busy defending their pride or fighting to protect their fragile ego. When someone insults you, it feels tempting to strike back instantly. When someone misunderstands you, the urge to explain, to argue endlessly, to fight for your narrative is strong. But each time you allow yourself to get dragged into these small, petty battles, you sacrifice something far more valuable: your center, your clarity, your precious calm. Learning not to react doesn't mean you allow injustice or accept disrespect. It means you don't hand over your emotional state to every passing wave of chaos. It means you become strategic with your energy. You recognize that not every battle is worth your time. Not every opinion needs correcting. Not every slight deserves your sacred attention. There is a quiet, profound dignity in being able to say, "I see what's happening, and I choose peace over performance." Not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to understand that real victories are often invisible. Walking away from drama isn't retreating. It is advancing toward higher ground. Think about the greatest leaders throughout history. Think about the wisest teachers, the calmest souls you deeply admire. They're not the ones frantically defending themselves against every critic, nor the ones lashing out at every small offense. They're the ones who remain grounded, rooted firmly in their own center. They speak only when their words can genuinely make a difference. They understand when silence carries more weight than 1,000 loud declarations. Seneca once wrote, "He who angers you conquers you." And when you truly reflect on this, you see its deep truth. Every time you react impulsively, you hand your power away. You become a puppet pulled by someone else's strings, a mirror reflecting their chaos rather than a light shining from your own source of strength. But when you refuse to react, something beautiful happens. You create space to think, space to breathe, space to choose a response that aligns with who you are, not who the heated moment tries to mold you into. This practice isn't easy. It demands enormous self-awareness and humility. It requires the courage to be okay with not always having the last word, to sit peacefully with not always being understood, to stop constantly trying to prove your worth to those who refuse to see it. Yet, it liberates you. It frees you from the exhausting, never-ending game of emotional ping-pong that so many people are stuck playing every single day. It allows you to move through life the way a mountain endures storms, steady, unshaken, dignified. It helps you build relationships based on true understanding instead of knee-jerk reactions and emotional outbursts. It lets you conserve your precious energy for what truly matters: your growth, your purpose, your peace. So, the next time someone tries to drag you into an argument, or when life throws a petty irritation your way, remember this: reacting is easy. Mastery lies in choosing when and whether to respond at all. Often, the most powerful choice is not to respond. Every moment you choose to stay rooted instead of being rattled, you're not losing. You're winning the only battle that ever truly mattered, the battle over yourself. Don't take things personally. Truly, most people act out of their own wounds and inner battles. One of the greatest freedoms you will ever taste is the realization that not everything is about you. The way people talk to you, treat you, even betray you, usually reveals far more about the state of their own hearts than it does about your worth. But until you see this clearly, you remain vulnerable, open to being wounded by every sharp word, every cold stare, every unmet expectation. Most people are walking through life carrying invisible wounds, deep scars from childhood, broken trust, disappointments they never fully healed from. These wounds shape how they see the world, how they speak, how they treat others, including you. When someone lashes out in anger, it's rarely because you deserve it. It's because they haven't learned to soothe their own pain. When someone withdraws into silence, it often isn't because you failed. It's because they fear vulnerability, terrified of needing someone who might not stay. If you take every word and every behavior personally, you turn yourself into a reflection of someone else's suffering. You lose your power to see clearly, to love wisely, to protect your peace. You begin to dance to the rhythm of wounds that were never yours to begin with. And by doing so, you hand over the keys to your emotional well-being to people who might not even know how to manage their own. Learning not to take things personally doesn't mean you accept mistreatment or disrespect. It means you see the source clearly. It means you develop enough inner stability to say, this behavior reflects their journey, not my value. It means you stop building your self-worth on the shaky, unstable foundation of other people's brokenness. Imagine, just for a moment, how much lighter your life would feel if you didn't internalize every slight, if you could meet someone's anger with curiosity instead of defensiveness, if you could meet their distance with compassion instead of panic, if you could meet their coldness with a simple, grounded understanding. Not everyone can meet you where you are, and that's okay. This doesn't make you better than them. It simply makes you freer than the version of yourself that once needed every person to validate your worth, every conversation to confirm your value. The Stoics taught that it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. And nowhere is this more evident than in the way we personalize the behavior of others. When you finally drop the exhausting assumption that everything is a commentary on you, you create spaciousness, space to see others more clearly, and space to protect the quiet, resilient strength within yourself. Someone's harsh words may simply reflect their own inner wars. Someone's indifference might be a shield they've built after being hurt too many times. Someone's betrayal may echo wounds they never had. The courage to face and heal. And yes, sometimes people do mistreat you on purpose. But even then, recognizing that their actions come from their own brokenness doesn't excuse their behavior. It simply frees you from carrying their pain as if it were your own. You were never meant to be the battleground for other people's unresolved struggles. You are here to live, to grow, to love, without dragging chains tied to someone else's unhealed wounds. So the next time you feel hurt by someone's words or actions, pause and ask yourself, is this truly about me? Or is it about something inside them that has nothing to do with me? Let that question be your shield, your invisible armor guarding your heart from unnecessary suffering. You are allowed to love people deeply without carrying their pain as your own. You are allowed to set firm boundaries without feeling guilty. You are allowed to protect your peace without justifying it to anyone. The more you practice this, the lighter you feel, the freer you become. You walk through life less weighed down by misunderstandings, disappointments, or moments of rejection because you understand deeply that your value is not up for debate, and it certainly isn't defined by the wounded hands of others. You begin to live with a kind of quiet nobility, not because you are untouched by life, but because you finally refuse to let life steal the sanctuary you've so carefully built. Within. Build emotional boundaries, not emotional walls. After enough hurt, it's easy to believe that the answer is complete isolation. That if you build your walls high enough, thick enough, nothing can ever hurt you again. There's a certain logic there. If no one gets close, no one can wound you. But what you also lose behind those walls is connection, joy, growth, and the full experience of life itself. There is a profound difference between boundaries and walls. Boundaries protect your peace while allowing your heart to remain open. Walls protect your fear and, in doing so, imprison your heart. Boundaries are conscious, deliberate acts of self-love and wisdom. Walls are rigid, reactionary, and suffocating responses to past pain. When you build emotional boundaries, you're telling the world, this is where I end and you begin. This is what I allow in, And this is what I keep sacred within myself. You're not shutting yourself off. You're creating a safe inner space where your worth is preserved. Your emotions are honored, and your energy is directed toward what truly matters. Healthy emotional boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about inviting the right people closer and calmly recognizing, without bitterness, that not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Boundaries protect the sacred garden of your inner life from the weeds of manipulation, guilt, and emotional chaos that others, knowingly or unknowingly, might bring. Walls, on the other hand, are built from fear, not wisdom. They're a reaction to old wounds rather than a reflection of present clarity. When you build walls, you don't just keep pain out. You keep love out too. You keep growth and healing at a distance. You lock yourself inside a fortress that eventually turns into a prison. And while it might seem like hurt can't reach you, neither can genuine connection or true joy. The art lies in knowing when to open and when to close, when to move forward and when to step back, not based on fear, but on clarity and self-respect. You don't need to shut everyone out to stay safe. You just need to refine your filters. You need to listen to your intuition, that gentle, quiet voice inside that whispers, "This person drains me," or "This situation crosses a line." Honor that voice, strengthen it, let it guide you without anger or resentment. Because the purpose of a boundary isn't to control others. It's to control your own exposure to what dims your spirit. It's about honoring the reality that while you can't change how others act, you can absolutely choose what you allow to affect you. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast ocean. You cannot control the waves, but you can choose where you build your home. You can choose how far you let the tide come in. That is the true work of boundaries, to stay connected to the world without being swallowed by it. And boundaries aren't always visible. Sometimes they are silent, deeply personal decisions. The decision not to engage in certain conversations, the decision to say no without guilt, the decision to walk away when your peace is no longer respected. These are boundaries drawn not from anger, but from wisdom and deep self-love. Seneca once said, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." This isn't about elitism. It's about the stewardship of your own soul. It's about understanding that your emotional environment shapes you just as powerfully, if not more, than your physical environment. You cannot remain healthy if you live surrounded by pollution. You cannot remain peaceful if you constantly invite chaos into your inner world. Setting boundaries will disappoint some people. It will confuse others. It may even anger a few. But remember this important truth: your responsibility is not to manage other people's emotions. Your responsibility is to protect your peace, to live in alignment with your deepest values, to create a life where your soul can breathe freely, without guilt, without apology. And every time you honor your boundaries calmly, consistently, and compassionately, you reclaim a piece of your power. You remind yourself that you were never put on this earth to be everything to everyone. You are here to be deeply, beautifully true to yourself, ultimately. A boundary is not a rejection of the world. It's an act of profound love for yourself and for the life you are consciously and courageously choosing to build. Train your nervous system to feel safe in silence. Silence is a space most people secretly fear. In the absence of noise and constant stimulation, our deepest anxieties tend to rise to the surface. Left alone with their thoughts, many people begin to feel a near physical discomfort, a restlessness that pushes them to reach for a screen, a distraction, a conversation, anything to avoid simply being. But what if silence isn't the threat we imagine it to be? What if, when approached with courage and openness, silence could become a sanctuary rather than a terrifying void? If you want true calm, true resilience, you must train your nervous system to feel safe in stillness, because without that sense of inner safety, you will always be reacting, not to the world outside, but to the turmoil within. Much of what we call overreaction or hypersensitivity is really the nervous system panicking. When it meets the unknown, the unstructured, the silent dot, it's easy to forget how deeply modern life conditions us to fear quiet. The endless buzz of notifications, the constant hum of background media, the instant fixes of entertainment, they create a rhythm of continuous engagement. And in that rhythm, stillness starts to feel wrong. It feels as though something is missing, as though we're unsafe if nothing is happening. But your nervous system was never designed for non-stop noise. It wasn't meant to process an endless stream of information without pause. It was meant to cycle, to engage and then retreat, to act and then rest, to move outward and then return inward. Without that inward return, without the practice of stillness, you become like an instrument that is always played but never tuned, slowly falling out of harmony with yourself. Training yourself to feel safe in silence isn't about withdrawing from life. It's about giving yourself a place to come home to, no matter how chaotic the world becomes. It's about anchoring yourself so deeply in your own presence that the absence of external noise doesn't feel like abandonment. It feels like sanctuary. And it begins small. It starts in those tiny moments when you resist the urge to fill every gap with sound. When you sit in your car without turning on music. When you stand in line without scrolling endlessly on your phone. When you let the evening settle around you without background noise. These tiny acts of stillness send a profound message to your nervous system. You are safe. You are enough. Nothing urgent needs to happen right now. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, like an itch under your skin, a subtle anxiety you can't quite name. That's okay. That's just the old programming unraveling. With time and patience, something extraordinary happens. The discomfort fades, and in its place, a new spaciousness emerges, a quiet, gentle strength. You start to realize that silence isn't empty at all. It's actually full of breath, full of awareness, full of subtle life that you simply can't perceive when everything is too loud. In silence, you begin to hear your own deeper needs, the ones buried under constant noise. You start to notice the tension you've been carrying in your body. You become aware of the patterns your mind keeps replaying on loop. You begin to reclaim parts of yourself that were drowned out by endless distractions. Most importantly, you start to separate silence from fear. You stop interpreting stillness as loneliness. You stop interpreting the lack of stimulation as a sign that something is wrong. You stop believing that the absence of noise is a personal failure. Instead, you begin to see silence for what it truly is, a sacred space, a space where healing unfolds, a space where strength is quietly forged, a space where you remember who you are without the world's constant commentary echoing in your ear. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And it's true, but only if you learn to make that inner retreat a place of safety rather than a battlefield. So the next time you find yourself instinctively reaching for a distraction, out of sheer habit, pause, breathe, sit with the discomfort instead of running from it. Let it rise, let it pass. Teach your body, gently but firmly, that you can be still and still be whole. That nothing urgent needs to happen for you to be okay. Because the more you train your nervous system to feel safe in silence, the less you will be controlled by the noise outside you, and the freer you will become to live with true clarity, profound depth, and unshakable peace. Calm does not mean indifference. It means authority over chaos. There's a deeply rooted misunderstanding in our world that if you stay calm, especially when everything is falling apart, you must not care enough. That if you don't react with visible distress, anger, or frantic urgency, you must be cold, distant, detached. But this misunderstanding reveals more about our culture's addiction to emotional chaos than it does about the true nature of calmness itself. Calmness isn't apathy, it's authority. It's not a sign that you're untouched by life's challenges, but proof that you've learned how to respond to them with intention instead of impulse. It's the quiet, powerful choice to meet storms with steady hands. Not because you don't see the danger, but because you understand that panic has never built a bridge through a flood. When you cultivate real calm, you aren't ignoring life's difficulties. You are tuning in more deeply, with a clear awareness that thrashing against the current only drags you under faster. Calm is not the absence of feeling. It's mastery over your feelings. It's choosing not to let fleeting emotions drive lifelong decisions. It's feeling the sting of betrayal, the rush of anxiety, the deep ache of sorrow, and still standing rooted, still choosing thoughtful, intentional action over chaotic reaction. In moments of crisis, most people instinctively look outward for control, trying to fix, to argue, to dominate the external world. But those who understand the essence of calm look inward first. They realize that the only true domain they have full authority over is themselves, their breath, their focus, their internal landscape. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And while it sounds simple on the surface, this idea holds the secret to real, lasting power. Life will bring storms. People will disappoint you. Plans will unravel. Pain will visit you again and again. None of this is a failure on your part. It's simply the nature of existence. But how you choose to meet that reality, that's where your freedom lives. Imagine a tree standing firm in the midst of a violent storm. The weak tree snaps under pressure, its roots too shallow, its branches too rigid to yield. But the strong tree, deeply rooted, flexible, patient, bends without breaking. It feels every force of the wind, yet it endures. And when the storm finally passes, It stands taller, stronger than before. You are that tree. Your calm is your roots. Your calm is your hidden strength. It allows you to bend when life demands it, without ever losing who you are. But calm must be cultivated. It doesn't simply appear because you wish for it. It is built in those small, decisive moments when you pause before you speak a harsh word, when you breathe through irritation instead of lashing out, when you notice your own fear and choose not to let it become your master. It is forged when you decide not to escalate a conflict just to prove you're right. When you let someone's anger move past you without lighting a fire in your own chest. When you trust that sometimes the most powerful response is no immediate response at all. And the more you practice this kind of calm, the more others might misunderstand you. Some will accuse you of not caring. Some will try to provoke you, mistaking your silence for weakness. Some might even think they've won when you don't argue back. But with time, you'll understand none of that matters, because the goal was never to win arguments or to impress the loudest voices. The goal has always been to live well, to move through life with quiet dignity, to guard your peace as if it were a sacred flame, because it is. You will start to notice how much more energy you have when you're not spending it on unnecessary battles. How much more clearly you can think when your mind isn't clouded by emotional chaos. How much more deeply you can love, create, and truly experience life when your soul isn't constantly recovering from the wounds of constant reaction. True calm doesn't mean you aren't involved in life. It means you are fully, deeply involved, but from a place of strength, not survival. So the next time someone mistakes your calm for indifference, let them. You do not owe anyone the performance of panic. You owe yourself the preservation of your peace. Because in the end, calm isn't about withdrawing from life. It's about showing up completely, with open eyes, an open heart, and unwavering control over your own inner world. Your peace is sacred. Protect it ruthlessly. There comes a moment in your life when you finally realize that peace isn't just a pleasant bonus feeling you get when everything goes smoothly. It's not some optional luxury. It is the foundation of everything. Your clarity, your strength, your happiness, and your ability to give to others without losing yourself in the process. And once you truly understand how sacred your peace is, you stop treating it like something optional or negotiable. You begin to protect it the way a flame protects its last breath of oxygen. In a violent storm, fiercely, unapologetically, and without hesitation. Your peace is the center of your life. It's what allows you to respond rather than react, to think clearly when others are panicking, to love deeply without losing your own sense of self. Without peace, every other part of your life begins to crumble. Your work suffers. Your relationships become strained. Your dreams start to fade. Even your health begins to erode. Peace isn't a luxury. It's oxygen for the soul. Yet, how often do we give it away so cheaply? How often do we let a stranger's careless words ruin an entire day? How often do we keep opening our hearts to people who have shown us, time and again, that they only know how to take, never to give? How often do we stay in conversations, environments, and habits that drain us? simply because we're too afraid to choose ourselves. You don't owe your peace to anyone, not to the friend who manipulates your kindness, not to the family member who guilts you into abandoning your own needs, not to a culture that glorifies self-sacrifice even when it leaves you hollow. Guarding your peace doesn't make you selfish. It makes you wise. It means you understand that you cannot pour from an empty cup. It means you respect your energy enough to invest it where it will grow, not where it will wither. Protecting your peace ruthlessly means saying no, not out of cruelty, but out of deep compassion for your own soul. It means walking away from battles you could win, but don't need to fight. It means refusing to explain, justify, or apologize for the boundaries you set to keep your spirit whole. It means listening closely to those subtle shifts within you, the tightening of your chest, the draining of your energy, the heaviness that settles in your heart after certain conversations or in certain places. These are your soul's warning signs. Honor them, trust them, and yes, protecting your peace will cost you. It might cost you relationships built on your willingness to overextend. It might cost you admiration from people who only valued you when you were easy to access and easy to exploit. It might even cost you the illusion of belonging in spaces that demand you betray yourself to fit in. But what you gain is infinitely more precious. You gain a life that feels truly yours. You gain mornings that begin in quiet calm, not dread. You gain nights where your mind is still enough to hear your own dreams whisper again. You gain relationships that are real, nourishing, mutual, built not on obligation, but on authenticity and respect. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do, only what you do. This is the heart of protecting your peace." Protecting your peace isn't about controlling the world around you. It's about mastering the world within you. You are the guardian of your inner world. You are the protector of your own light. There is no higher duty, no greater responsibility. So be kind, but be clear. Be open, but be discerning. Love deeply, but love yourself enough to walk away when loving others asks you to abandon your own soul. Protect your peace like your life depends on it, because, in every meaningful way, it truly does. And as you do, you'll discover something extraordinary. The world outside may rage, roar, and crumble, but within you there will be a stillness no storm can touch. True inner calm isn't found by escaping the world. It's found in learning to move through it without letting it move through you. It's found in building an unshakable shelter inside yourself, one strong enough to stand, even when everything outside trembles. This shelter is built choice by choice, moment by moment, day by day. When you stop treating peace as a luxury and start treating it as your most sacred responsibility, everything changes. You react less. You see more clearly. You carry yourself with a quiet strength that needs no explanation. Not with hardness, but with gentle firmness. Not with apathy, but with unwavering clarity about who you are and what you allow into your heart. This isn't a path of isolation. It's a path of conscious, awakened living. It's the realization that your sensitivity is not a curse to be hidden, but a gift to be protected. That silence isn't emptiness. It's deep, soulful fullness. That boundaries aren't selfish, they are sacred. And that true calm isn't about feeling less. It's about choosing your feelings with wisdom, not weakness. You owe it to yourself and to the life you are meant to live, to guard your peace as fiercely as you would guard the flame of your own soul. Because in the end, it isn't about proving anything to the world. It's about creating a world within you that no storm can ever shake. If this journey resonated with you today, I invite you to carry this calm forward. Protect it. Strengthen it. Let it shape the way you walk through the noise of life, not untouched by pain, but unbroken by it. And if you found value in this conversation, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need this reminder, and subscribe to Stoic Capsule for more reflections to nourish your inner strength. Thank you for being here, for choosing reflection over reaction, stillness over chaos, and strength over noise. Until next time, stay rooted, stay present, and stay fiercely at peace.